All right, testing again. Put my head back over here. Basically, I've calmed down a little bit with the data trees and the Pathmapper, and I've made a pretty interesting form. And what I can do in this form is rotate through the geometries that are being created, and I'll show you how it's made in a very simple, subtle, cleaned up script. And I have figured this out. Finally, I've done something. So you can see all those wonderful geometries that are made. How are all those geometries made beautifully? And then how can they all be lofted differently to get this organic staircase? Something definitely worth casting in metal, and I think I'll be working on it and taking it to print. How it is made. Let's get rid of everything. We can leave it on that view if you like. Basically, there's a point system. There's a baked-in object here. And I'll just leave it in rotation just for fun. But I've made a point system, and I've gridded it by just a simple graph of a series 3x10, and then I've brought it up into a cube, but I brought it up 40 units. So it's like a staircase that goes up. And at any time, you can see the data associated with that, 0, 1, 0, 1, 2, 0, 1, and 2, and you can see the data as it comes up from that. And in picking that data, what I've done is I've written a script within the Pathmapper that will choose points alongside of it. So let's turn it off so it can be a little quicker. There's our points to choose from and iterate from. And even though the original thing comes from a very simple pattern of going to null mapping, putting in the path index and taking the cube rid of it, which I learned from Daniel Christev, it gives me a point system of choice here. And you can try and follow that if you so choose. I believe that, yes, that will give me exactly what I'm choosing. You'd have to go in a little deeper into looking at those points and what's being selected. I put it into a little param viewer, so you can see we have 40 branches of 15 items on some, 13 12s on others, 14s on others, so there's a little bit of different pattern through each one. And I do have a problem that occurs here. It says the degree must be less than the number of control points. Well, that's pretty simple to fix. Let me just type in 1, 2, 3 degrees and put that in there, and that might solve it. Get a little slow down here. Not quite all the way. I still have a problem with it. Is my geometry still the same? No. That's at 1 degree, which we obviously don't want. Polylines. 2 degrees is here, which changes a little bit. And my last item, if I take a look at it, the rotation, that doesn't look too bad at 2 degree. But still my error is insufficient. There's the main thing, insufficient vertices for the curve. So I am still running into some problem with it. After I pipe it, it comes out these objects, and you can see which ones are chosen each time. I'll just pull it up here. Try not to mind my rendering in the way I prefer not to get rid of it. We'll snap it up to 3, and there you get a nice smoother transition of the curves. And then all I've done is done that through a double pi rotating, just like a stairwell. And what's nice is you can see each one of those units as it's selected and how the data has so chosen to do that. And I just find that beautifully understandable as I choose going up before the rotation, how I'm making those piped lines. And of course, a good Boolean union will make that possible. Not too hard. I don't have to do a full rotation. I could do less of a rotation. But looking at the whole object here, I can pipe it at different radius. And although I do have this problem as it finishes up with geometries, the script still processes even though there are some problems within it. And I don't usually like to deal with stuff like that, but I felt, what the heck. Once again, put it back onto what you have. You have a numbered system. We can take the object that's there. We can look at what's being decided, the data that's coming through, and numbering up all the way up to my count at the top of 39, because that's what I've chosen to bring up. I have a step of 4 just to make for the scale a little larger, and a 3 count on the initial section here. If you start taking that count up, you start ending up with a pretty crazy geometry, and there's no point really transitioning from this to something super complex. But I do like it. I think it's fantastic. If you wanted to see where it would blast into something a little bigger and crazier, just pull it in here and just go back into here and take that 3 count, maybe shut it down, move the count up to something like 7, which is going to be a little nuts. It's going to take a little bit of process as I open it back up. You get a pretty cool form. Maybe not as interesting as it was when it was less in the count, but still interesting all the same. We'll just throw it over to standard, have a view at it from each side. Made a pretty cool, awkward geometry. Maybe worth taking the print, but I must admit I'm a little more, find it a little more interesting dealing with this set at edit value 3. I think that's a much better number. I like the stepping up of that, and thanks for watching. Actually, we'll just jump in there at 3 and take that radius back down to where it was, which will take a second to just process that. Shouldn't be too long. We'll take it back down. Actually, where's my radius? Radius was here. Let's just take that slider back down to where it was, around 2. That's a little small. And there you go. I find that it's a little more interesting shape to play with and think about what it's doing. Okay, keep the rotations going. Keep having fun with it. Get into the Pathmapper, build your own geometries from line and point, and controlling the matrix of what's going on within your larger geometries in the world.